These are not typical blood clots that form after a person's death. When a funeral director sent a sample to a lab in Texas, its elemental composition was found to be extremely low in iron, magnesium, potassium, and zinc. This suggests that the clots are forming from something other than blood. And this is not an isolated case. Many embalmers across the country are finding similar clots in the deceased after COVID-19 vaccination began in 2021. Welcome to Frontline Health. I'm Dan Skorbak. Embalmers. It's a unique profession that prepares the body of a deceased person for their funeral. Part of this process involves draining the blood from the corpse and replacing it with embalming fluid to preserve the tissues. And sometimes embalmers have to deal with blood clots in the veins and arteries. Richard Hirschman, an embalmer of 20 years from Alabama, told Epoch Times that usually he sees blood clots in the deceased between 5 to 10% of the time. But somewhere around 2021, embalmers across the US have been noticing a change in the blood of the deceased. Richard, for example, says he now sees abnormal clotting 50 to 70% of the time. In 20 years of embalming, I had never seen these white fibrous structures in the blood, nor have others in my field. Out of this concern, Richard sent a few of the clot samples to a lab in Texas. Compared to the blood of an unvaccinated person, the clot samples had very little iron, magnesium, potassium, and zinc. The Epoch Times asked Dr. Wade Hamilton, a cardiologist, to help us make sense of these numbers. He said these did not look like normal after-death clots. The fact that iron, magnesium, and potassium were so low in the samples suggests that there was no blood flow in the vessels, and that the unusual fibers that made up the clots could have very well been the cause of death. But what's the deal with these clots, and why are they forming? Well, some doctors we talk to have a theory, and it has to do with the way certain proteins unravel when something goes wrong in the body. There is this condition that is seen in neurodegenerative diseases, and that's the formation of this abnormal protein called amyloid. In healthy people, plasma cells inside the bone marrow make special light chain proteins to protect the body from infection. When these light chain proteins become defective, whether because the plasma cells become abnormal or for some other reason, these proteins will begin to clump together and form thread-like strings that the body cannot clear away. Dr. James Thorpe believes this misfolding of proteins could be related to the COVID-19 vaccine and the formation of clots. This is how he explains it. The COVID-19 vaccine diverts energy away from physiologic processes in the body towards the production of the toxic spike protein. This directs energy away from the normal process of internal digestion, also known as autophagy. This results in protein misfolding and propagation of large intravascular blood clots, and also a variety of related diseases, including Alzheimer's and others. While it is possible that COVID-19 illness in itself could potentially contribute to these diseases, it is unlikely. And if so, the effect of the vaccine would be 100 to 1,000-fold greater than that of COVID-19 disease. Another expert, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, has been analyzing vaccine adverse reactions for about 3 decades. She also believes the clots are linked to amyloid proteins. When the spike protein was mixed with other blood proteins, the combined amyloid-like structure was resistant to the enzymes that would normally break down the clot. This leads to the persistence of a voluminous number of microclots in small blood vessels throughout the body called capillaries. Millions of these tiny clots effectively block the passage of red blood cells into tissue, decreasing oxygen exchange and leading to multi-organ system failure. So there you have it. These are the theories as to what could be the cause of abnormal clotting. And whether it is fundamentally caused by the vaccine, well, many experts are asking this question. Out of the 6 embalmers we talked to, all of them suspect it could be the jab, because in a lot of cases, they're able to know the vaccination status of the deceased. Anna Foster, for example, is a licensed funeral director from Missouri. When she sits down with families to make arrangements, they often tell her about the lead-up of the person's death and can confirm if the individual was vaccinated. So she's able to keep track of these cases. She said, "I know before the vaccination, my embalming cases did not have the amount of clotting I see now, and very rarely would you find many with fibrin attached. Now, it is at least 10 times the amount, if not more."